the murder capital, Gotham City. That's the story the news and social media try to sell you. Last year in 2025, President Trump even called it the murder capital. Outsiders see these headlines, see the grainy videos, and they start to think Chicago is basically Gotham City. There's even bait posts on Twitter claiming to show how bad it is, but then you see palm trees in the background. It's an image burning to people outside the city minds. A city that's just so dangerous everywhere all the time. But in reality, that whole narrative is basically a ghost story. To understand what Chicago is today, you have to know where it came from. The city's reputation was definitely not no myth. It was earned in blood during the 70s, 80s, and 90s. The city hit a peak of 970 murders in 1974 and then saw another major spike in the early 90s. And this is the era that cemented the city's violent reputation. And a huge factor of this was the major high-rise public housing projects like Cabrini Green and the Robert Taylor homes. These buildings was meant to be a solution, but they became gang-infested islands of concentrated poverty and violence, fueling the crime that made the city infamous. And then the narrative was set that Chicago is just a poster child for just straight violence. But the thing is, that reputation is now a ghost story, born from a real one and a violent past. In 2025, Chicago recorded 416 homicides. Now, of course, every single one of these homicides is a tragedy, but we have to look at the bigger picture. That's a drop of nearly 30% from the year before. And 416 homicides is the lowest number of murders the city has had in a single year since 1965. Meaning the city hasn't been this safe from homicide since your grandparents was young. And that whole murder capital label that Trump and other politicians try to sell you, it's a straight up myth. When you look at the murder rate, cities like St. Louis, Baltimore, and Memphis have had higher rates for years. But this isn't just about murders either. The numbers are down across the whole board. In 2025, shooting incidents fell by 35%, and robberies dropped by 36%. Carjackings, the crime that dominated the news last year, was cut in half, a 50% drop in 1 year. And the trend is starting to continue. As of early March 2026, violent crime is down another 9.4% from the same time last year. The wild part is, most of these tourists and bait pages will never even see the neighborhoods they scared of. They always stick to downtown, River North. It's not like you going to Inglewood or Austin, or you staying in a hotel on the low end. They hear the west side or the south side and get spooked. But the thing is, those areas have beautiful, proud neighborhoods, like Bronzeville, for example, Ashburn, and Hyde Park. So how did the crime rate decrease? I mean, it wasn't just one thing, but a big combination of stuff. First, it was definitely the seeds that was planted back in the 2000s when the city started to destroy the projects. Demolishing buildings like the Robert Taylor homes was controversial, and it wasn't a perfect solution, but it broke up the extreme concentrations of poverty and violence that had defined the city's worst years. Research showed that when families was given vouchers to move, they relocated to safer neighborhoods with less poverty, and their children had better outcomes down the line. I also believe that more and more kids believe that the street shit is stupid now. I know a lot of my peers that went to college are in a trade now, and they just not doing any of that stupid shit no more. And another thing, the most effective people to stop the violence are the ones who live in the neighborhoods hit the hardest. So the city started pouring money into these local CVI groups, which stands for Community Violence Intervention. These aren't cops. They're outreach workers, credible messengers, and sometimes even former gang members. They build relationships and offer people at the highest risk of violence a different path, like a job, therapy, whatever it takes. And it's definitely working. A 2026 report found that the Chicago communities receiving the most CVI funding saw the largest drop in crime. And a Northwestern University study found that people who complete a CVI program are over 70% less likely to be arrested for a violent crime. It proves you can't just arrest your way out this problem, you have to heal your way out. Now, the numbers definitely don't mean the job is done, and many communities are still dealing with immense pain and trauma, but the progress is definitely real. But it's also not felt equally by everyone. The hard truth is that even though violence is way down, it remains concentrated in a few areas still. About half of all shootings still occur in just 10 of the city's 77 neighborhoods. The new reality of Chicago is that it's a city that can hold two truths at once. It can celebrate a historic 60-year low in murders while also mourning the lives still being lost. It can be proud of a massive drop in crime, while knowing that some neighborhoods are still waiting for their peace. So is Chicago really that bad? Nah. Definitely not in the way the internet and some politicians want you to believe. It's a lazy, outdated narrative that ignores the incredible progress made by thousands of people working on the front lines